PSP Go versus the Nintendo Switch. This thing just can't be defeated. It's beating everything I throw at it. So now I'm pulling out the big guns. The Go and the Switch. Nintendo versus Sony. 2009 versus 2017. Big versus small. New versus old. This time it's the two portable consoles I use the most. In another one of my videos, I compared the DS Lite to the PSP Go and concluded that the Nintendo device just couldn't compete. So 8 years later, were Nintendo able to make a device that completely destroys my favourite handheld? This should be completely unfair and one-sided. There's 8 years between these two guys. To put this in perspective, this is what a mobile phone looked like in 2009. So surely Nintendo can wipe the floor with the PSP Go. Or can they? Let's find out. Let's start by talking about price. Now, cash is king, and this guy keeps getting more and more expensive, while this one is roughly staying the same and sort of beginning to drop in price. I can see a future where the PSP Go overtakes the Nintendo Switch in price, which is one of the reasons this video makes so much sense. In fact, if you want to buy the dock accessory for the PSP Go, which comes with the Nintendo Switch, then the PSP Go is already more expensive than the Switch. Especially if you think about the fact that to play this on a TV, you not only have to buy the £150 dock if you can find it somewhere, it's incredibly rare, you also have to buy a DualShock controller to play it with, so that's another 20 quid. So this guy, technically, for the same functionality, is already more expensive. And now I'm not quite being fair, I get it. This is technically cheaper. You can find these for £110 on their own if all you want to do is use it as a handheld, whereas these are £220 on their own or so, or something like that. If it were me watching this video, I'd probably find it easier to justify spending £220 on a console that was only released a few years ago than £110 on a console that came out in 2009. Watch this video and find out which one you think justifies the cost. But for this round, I have to give it to the PSP Go because it is cheaper, technically, if all you want to buy is just the PSP Go. So 1 point to the Sony device. Next, let's talk about connectivity and ergonomics. The Switch is USB-C, the PSP is a proprietary connection. Both have 3.5mm headphone sockets, but the PSP Go supports Bluetooth wireless headphones. The Switch doesn't. The Switch comes with a dock to connect to the TV, but the PSP Go doesn't. You have to spend extra if you want to do that. The Switch also supports up to 4 wireless controllers, but the PSP only supports 1 wireless controller, so you can't use this to sit with friends on the couch, even if you buy the dock. Also, the controllers that come with the Switch can be split into 2 different controllers and used to play with your friends. So that's better connectivity. Another benefit of the detachable Joy-Cons is if you ever have an issue with any of them, like the buttons stop working or stick drift or something like that, it doesn't write off the console like it might on the PSP Go. You just detach them and buy some new controllers. Both have the ability to go in and out of standby mode. The Nintendo Switch by pushing the power button at the top, the PSP Go simply by opening and closing it, and then when you power them back on, taking you exactly where you were in the game you were playing. This is something that most cheap emulation machines don't have. As you would expect from a more modern machine, the Switch has better connectivity options, it's more comfortable to hold in the hand. This round goes to the Switch. So let's talk about the screens. Hi guys, I just wanted to quickly pause this video and say thank you so much for everyone who's subscribed to this channel. I'm at 498 subscribers at the moment, so 2 off of 500. That's great. If you like this video, please consider hitting the like button. And if you want to join everyone who's subscribed, please consider subscribing to see more content like this. Alright, back to the video. The Switch's screen is 6.2 inches with a resolution of 1280 by 720. The PSP Go screen is 3.8 inches and has a resolution of 480 by 272. However, the key numbers, because the screens are different sizes, are the pixels per inch. The Switch has a pixel per inch of 236 and the Go has a pixels per inch of 145. I thought that the difference wouldn't be that much. A lot of the games I play were built for the Game Boy Advance, they were built for older devices. So I thought that the difference wouldn't be that noticeable. I was wrong. Even the games that were built for these older devices, such as the Game Boy, they look way better on the Nintendo Switch. As you'd expect, in 8 years, screen technology has come a long way, and the PSP Go screen, although perfectly adequate, can't compete with the Switch when you compare them side by side. So this round, another point to the Nintendo Switch. Let's talk about the ease of running custom firmware or backups on these devices. All PSP Go's can run custom firmware, but only unpatched Switches can run custom firmware without the use of a mod chip. Luckily, Nintendo manufactured loads and loads of these unpatched, exploitable Nintendo Switches, and you can watch my other video, which will be linked in the description if you want to know about which one of these to buy to run custom firmware. If you want to know how to install custom firmware on a Nintendo Switch, it's a lot more difficult than finding out how to install custom firmware on the PSP, because Nintendo have been going around YouTube and removing loads of videos telling you how to do it. Also, the act of actually installing custom firmware, once you figure out how to do it, is way easier on the PSP Go. Combine that with the fact that you can only do it on certain Nintendo Switches, then in this round I've got to give a point to the PSP Go. It's way easier to run custom firmware on. Let's talk about the emulation on these two devices. Now, the PSP Go can emulate pretty much everything up to the SNES, up to the Game Boy Advance, but not beyond. The Nintendo Switch is about the same. It can't emulate any further at the moment than the Game Boy Advance and the SNES. It can emulate PSP games though, whereas obviously the PSP can't emulate the Nintendo Switch. So you'd probably be right in arguing that I should give it to the Nintendo Switch for that reason alone. The reason I think I'm going to give an extra point to the Switch instead of the PSP Go is not necessarily for that reason, but because of all the ports that exist for the Nintendo Switch. So Half-Life, Duke Nukem, Tomb Raider, Grand Theft Auto, people have made ports for the Nintendo Switch of these games, which obviously you can't play on the PSP Go. Although that's not technically emulation, I'm going to include it in this round because it's not a Nintendo Switch game, if you know what that means, and I'm going to give a point to the Nintendo Switch. Oh, and one thing I didn't mention in this round, the PSP can emulate PlayStation 1 games perfectly, and the Switch actually struggles unless you dive into developer options and figure out how to overclock it. But still, that doesn't change the fact that this round goes to the Nintendo Switch. Let's talk about games. Now, you guys already know the answer to this one. This one's simple. The Switch has better games and way more of them. Also, the Switch games are still being released and we have lots to look forward to, like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2, Breath of the Wild 2, and hopefully a sequel to Super Mario Kart 8 whenever Nintendo decide to give us that. So this round's nice and easy. Another point to the Nintendo Switch. So now we come to the final round, which is portability. Now that we're here at the final round, let's have a look at the current scores. We have 2 points for the PSP and 4 points for the Nintendo Switch. And we can pretty much scrap all those scores because for most people, this round, the portability round, is the only round that will actually matter. At almost 9.5 inches wide, to me, although the Switch is portable and technically a handheld, it isn't portable and it isn't a traditional handheld. It's too big to put in a pocket. It's too big to have in your bag just in case. It's a console you might take to the airport on a plane or you might play in the car, but most likely the most travel this console will see for the average person is their bedroom, their kitchen, and on the couch. You're unlikely to have it in your bag just in case. You're not going to pull it out of your pocket in the doctor's waiting room or at the bus stop like you might with the PSP. This argument for most people will all come down to the portability of the PSP and whether or not they need it. Because if you don't need the portability of the PSP and you just want to use this around your house, then the Nintendo Switch is the one to buy. They both play the same emulators, other than the PS1 obviously this guy plays, except you unlock the ability to play Switch games if you buy a Switch. Obviously, I know that sounds stupid to say, but when comparing these two, the fact that this is a Nintendo Switch is probably what seals it. It has access to all those Nintendo Switch games. In addition, you also have access to all the fan-made ports, such as Half-Life and Grand Theft Auto that were made for this thing. If all you want to do is play Game Boy Advance games, PSP games, and have the best portable option there is, then buy the PSP Go. It's the best portable console ever made. It's just not the best value for money portable console ever made. What would you rather have? A Nintendo Switch or a PSP Go? Or maybe if you're lucky, both. Let me know down below. If you like the content, guys, please hit the like button. And if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. On my left is a video showing which Nintendo Switch you should buy if you do decide to buy a Nintendo Switch. They're not all created equal. Some are much better than others. And because of that, there's only a few I actually recommend buying. And on my right is a video showing why the PSP Go is my favorite handheld of all time. So choose wisely, and I'll see you guys in the next one.